So now that's gone and
Okay.
all of this will go. All right.
So we were just laughing about, well, first we asked, like, what is it about a retreat like this that would be a retreat for high-powered women who have experienced relationships with individuals with highly narcissistic and or sociopathic traits? What is it that would draw a woman to a retreat with other high-powered women who had experienced that? What would you say it was?
And I said, for me, when I was in that state, it was the idea of camaraderie. Like, I didn't have friends. 20 years worth of friends just kind of gone. There were people in my lives, people who I knew first names of, but I couldn't talk to anyone because, well, I was so ashamed of it. But if you had a friend, you'd have to be honest with them.
Yeah.
So if they asked you, like,
what's going on at home? And
well, I don't know where my husband is, and $90,000 is missing from our bank account. Everything is fine. Like, you can't have a friendship.
Just another Tuesday at our house.
Exactly. And how can you do that? Because I know it sounds crazy, and it sounded crazy that I was putting up with this sort of thing. Absolutely insane that this was my norm. And it felt like I couldn't escape. Like, it just totally boxed in.
It's that feeling of, I know I'm smarter than this. I know that people will look at me and say, are you kidding me? But you look like you have all of your stuff together. You've gone here, you've got this degree or accomplishment, you've got this job going, you've got this beautiful home. And then you're putting up with what?
Right.
There's a huge amount of shame.
Enormous amount of shame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Enormous amount of shame.
That's really unnecessary, because it's not uncommon for high-powered women to find themselves suddenly in a relationship like this. So I'm not saying that it's ideal. I'm not saying that everybody and their dog is in it, but you are not alone. That there are high-powered women in the same situations experiencing the same craziness that you come to determine as just another Tuesday in your family.
Exactly. Yeah, I talk with people who come to me about this, and people I work with. At least as doctors go, we're busy. We're independent, and we're used to putting up with people's craziness and relying on us. So this, like, the medical education system kind of trains us all to take on these burdens and never step back and say, whoa, this is unacceptable in my life. But we know it's unacceptable. And that's why there's so much hiding and shame. And I don't want to, and for me, I was like, maybe I can scurry and keep all the plates spinning enough that it'll look normal. Like I would go to places like Office Depot and buy all the organizers available at the beginning of the year, because I thought I could organize my way out of the chaos if I just had a system.
Oh my goodness, that makes me laugh. I remember how many to-do lists I created for me, for him, for them, for that, all just, yes, you're right, to organize your way out of it. Oh, how funny. But to realize that, and then to come to the end and realize that you're in this sort of relationship, then to step out of it, say, I'm no longer willing to tolerate this, and to step out of it. But the problem is that there's been so much silence for so many years that when you start coming out of it, and all of a sudden your friends know, what, your relationship is ending? What, you're divorcing? Why? And then
he's such a nice guy.
Such a nice guy. Of course he was. I mean, dad of the year, husband of the year in front of other people. Right? Mm-hmm. But then, and so then you get this situation where people really doubt what you're saying, which is very difficult to process, and then maybe judge that and don't understand. And then it looks, at least in my experience, some of it looked made up. Some of it looked made up because they thought, I've never experienced that side of that person. I've never seen that. I didn't notice that. You didn't say anything for years.
Right.
And that's all as a result of the shame of it. And I didn't want to color anyone's opinion of us as a couple, of either one of us individually.
Or have it something blow back on the kids.
Absolutely.
Because kids are smart. They pick up on these things. And if other parents are talking, it's like, oh, poor,
Yes.
There's a troubled family. Like and maybe this is me and my, just my upbringing, but this is like, you don't want to be the people who are the troubled family.
Right. Well, truthfully, you're coming from a space of being so accomplished that you're not
Right.
used to being the one that needs any help. You're not used to being the one that needs any support, anyone's listening ear, anyone's validation. You're not used to that.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? You do. You cannot get through this. And I mean, not just through the mess, I mean, really all the way through to the point where you say, I'll say it for me. I'm glad this happened because I'm a better, stronger person for it. But you cannot get there alone at all. At all.
I believe that you don't ever reach the point of integration into, I understand why this happened to me. I see that there is a silver lining in this. I understand the bigger picture of it all and the person that it has allowed me to become. Because if you stay in silence about it and you say to yourself, okay, I ended the relationship, I'm continuing in my career, I'm not talking about it for the benefit of the children, for the benefit of me, for the benefit of him, all of these things. I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to look bad and I don't want any fallout on anyone else. Fine. But you're still suffering.
Mm-hmm. And you're still in that relationship because you're still covering for everyone else and not being authentic for you.
The emotional separation, while the physical separation may be present, the emotional separation has not happened.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. So attending a retreat like this for me would calls to me from that level of I'm smarter than this. And look at these other women who are smarter than this too. It's actually not a reflection of intelligence that I got myself caught up in this. It's simply conditioning. It's the ways in which I was conditioned growing up from any number of sources, maybe family, maybe friends, maybe society, maybe the religious institutions of which you were a part.
Or the educational training.
Absolutely. That guides you into overperforming, not expecting enough from other people, not learning how to, you're just guided into the people pleasing and into the perfectionism, into the suffering on your own, figuring it out yourself, and certainly not sharing any of your difficulties. You just suck it up and take care of it. Yeah. So the value would be absolutely that camaraderie and the deep friendships, because I think anybody who has been through it, the moment that you mention any little part of it to someone who has never experienced it, I mean, just the smallest part of it, you can tell almost instantaneously whether that individual has experienced what you're describing or has not. And for me, there's retreat almost immediately if it's someone who hasn't experienced it and really looks at it as kind of insane.
Yeah, they just there's this little oh.
Mm-hmm.
And just a little turn away and a little ooh, I don't want to go there.
Absolutely. Versus the individual who you really don't have to say anything. You could be very subtle about the way that you bring something up, and they hear what you haven't said,
Mhm.
and there's instant connection. And
Right.
that's what we get. That's what we will get from this experience, is that instant connection with a woman who's just like you, who is high powered, who is high performing, who is intelligent, who has all of her things together in so many areas of her life, and yet is maybe a little bit puzzled about how it is that she came to experience this situation, and could really use some camaraderie with other women who have been there and who
And
have,
get those deep, like, why me?
yeah,
What
and get
happened?
to the other side of it. Like, how do I integrate this into something that's going to benefit me, my family, my children? How can it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
Rather than looking at the past and saying, why did it happen? For me, it's get to the point where I say, okay, what next? In a good
Yes.
way. Like, and I used to say what next in the way of like, what shit's going to be piled
Yeah.
on me again? But really now in my life, I'm like, okay, I got all this power. I've got all this power and all of this drive. What am I going to do next?
From that was the biggest mistake of my life to this is the most incredible springboard into the next areas of my life that I ever could have imagined for myself.
Right. Exactly.